A female nurse discovered something terrifying while administering an injection. She had mistaken morphine, used for pain relief, for an anti-inflammatory drug. What frightened her even more was that she had administered 100 milligrams of morphine, which was supposed to be only 3 milligrams. Such a high-purity drug only requires 5 milligrams to be lethal. The elderly man tried to comfort her, telling her not to panic. He explained that as long as the antidote was administered within 10 minutes, it could be metabolized and expelled from the body. Then he took out a notebook, remarking that this was a very interesting method of murder. But the girl became increasingly anxious. The antidote, which was supposed to be in the medical kit, had mysteriously disappeared. The elderly man noticed her concern. After all, wealthy individuals like him usually lived in suburban estates. Even if an emergency call was made immediately, it would be too late by the time medical personnel arrived. It seemed that tonight was destined to be a deadlock. He realized that someone must be trying to use this situation to frame the nurse for murder. The girl, still holding onto a glimmer of hope, picked up the phone. But the elderly man suddenly hung up the call. He instructed the nurse to listen carefully to every word he was about to say. Only by doing so could she clear herself of the murder suspicion. The elderly man didn't want her family to be torn apart because of him. If the police suspected the nurse, her mother's illegal immigration status would inevitably be exposed. The elderly man told her to make noise when going downstairs. He also reminded her to greet the young son at the door. It was exactly midnight at that moment. Then she was to drive away from the estate. After leaving the surveillance range, the elderly man instructed her to park the car by the roadside. She was to return to the estate through the back gate. The family's dogs knew her and wouldn't bark, but to avoid being seen by anyone, she had to climb back to the third floor through the lattice fence outside the wall. However, she accidentally broke one of the sections. When she returned, the elderly man told her to wear his pajamas and hat. He knew the young son smoked at this time every night. The plan worked, and the young son mistook her for his father. This provided her with an alibi, clearing her from being the prime suspect. But the girl had a fatal flaw: she would vomit whenever she lied. The elderly man advised her not to lie. She could reveal only part of the truth. The girl then retraced her steps. Unexpectedly, she ran into the family's great-grandmother as soon as she came downstairs. Fortunately, the elderly woman's poor eyesight caused her to mistake the girl for her great-grandson. She even asked why she had returned. Under the cover of darkness, the girl finally made it back home. But the next day, when the butler opened the door, he found the elderly man's throat had been slit. A blood-stained dagger lay on the floor. Due to the elderly man's physical condition, the nurse was almost always by his side. Their relationship was sometimes even closer than that of his children. Most importantly, Nick also knew about her fatal flaw of vomiting when lying. This meant that the truth could be heard from her mouth. But the elderly man's death was still connected to the girl. How could she avoid being exposed?